Hello, I'm coming to you from our new studio. I'm here meeting with contractors, architects, so construction can get started very soon. Recently, our ministry team was in Washington, D.C. for the International Religious Freedom Summit and the Religious Freedom in America Conference. These are not Christian events. These are global gatherings where organizations of all faith and all nations converge on Washington, D.C. to advocate, protect, and advance religious freedom for all people, everywhere, all the time. Our ministry team was there as ambassadors representing Jesus Christ and his people in all nations' public squares of business. Please enjoy this Jesus Christ CEO TV interview with our next guest.
All right, we're back here at the International Religious Freedom Summit with Jim Waldrup. Jim, thank you for sitting down and willing to share a little bit why you're here.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So we'll get into you being a businessman a little bit, but tell us a little bit why you're at the International Religious Freedom Summit here in Washington, D.C.
Well, it's been a short time ago, but I was asked by people I know at the Asian Religious Research Center if I would join their group since it was going to be in Washington. I have political connections here, and they're pushing hard to get some things done to relieve the pressure on the believers in China. There are 80 million, we know of 80 million confessing Christians in China.
Wow.
And some of the new laws in China have banned certain versions of the Bible, certain ministries, etc. And we know, of Chinese believers that have been arrested and put in jail for long prison terms here just in the last 12 months.
Wow. Wow.
And so we would like to see if there's something that we can do to kind of change this direction of the CCP. We don't think it's good for the CCP to have policies like this, let alone our believing friends. And so I decided to come aboard. I was asked if I'd come, and that's a bit of an experiment for me here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like a fish out of water. There's some great people here, though.
Yeah, yeah. I understand. The Lord sent me here 3 years ago to participate at IRF, and those were the same terms, feel like a fish out of water. Give us a little synopsis of your history back in business, and then we're going to tie the two together of how you're using that grace gift and your abilities in business to serve this cause that you're talking about.
Well, sure. I pretty much raised as a poor kid. My parents dropped out of high school. They were high school lovers and dropped out of high school to get married. And that was a result 10 months later. They were both 18 years old barely when I was born. And that marriage didn't work. And my mother eventually raised 3 kids on a minimum wage nighttime job, production job. She just worked the production line for many, many years, raising 3 kids on her own, more or less on her own. But later on, as a teenager, I dropped out of high school. I only finished the 10th grade. The first time, I finished the 10th, I started the 11th, and they kicked me out. My notoriety in high school was I got more licks than anybody in the school. I did. They wore my butt out. It deserved all of it. And then they said, don't come back. Well, the next year came, started the 11th, 8th grade again, and I just couldn't handle it. It was too boring, too this, too that. I just quit and went to work. But my dad was, even though he had his drinking problems, he was a darn good carpenter. And I learned the trade from him. I had the aptitude and the skills to learn and to do it. And then at 17 years old, he got off on a binge, a drinking binge, and kind of left the crew and his builders high and dry. And one of the builders came to me. They realized I'm a hard worker and I'm out there doing it. Asked me if I could do it. Can I finish this job for my dad? And I said, yeah, I can do that. That was my first business. I basically hired what had been his crew and made them mine, and that became my first business. The business as a framing carpenter.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, a few years later, I started college myself. Another strange story. It was Oklahoma University. I went in and said I want to start college, and they said, "Well, what are your transcripts?" I said, well, "What's a transcript?
Yeah.
What are you talking about here?" But I was married. I paid my taxes. I held a good job. And they took it under advisement and let me in college on a probation and said, we're going to give you one semester, but you have to make a B average to earn your next semester. And then the next semester, I had to earn a B average to get the one after that.
Yeah.
So my first college semester, I made 3 Bs. I had 3 courses, and I made 3 Bs, and I earned my next semester. I was in engineering. I'm one of the few guys I know that made A's in every engineering class I ever took. I'm the only guy, along with my study partner, that had A's in thermodynamics. And I graduated somehow in 4 years with honors. Got 9 job offers in the petroleum industry as an engineer. I took one of those in Oklahoma City, and within 2 years, I started my own company. I started my own oil company, quote unquote, with my American Express card on my kitchen table.
Yeah.
And it was successful. Within a year, I was a millionaire on paper. I didn't have $1 million, but on paper, I'd accumulated the assets to say I was a millionaire.
Yeah.
I went on and became fairly successful. Made a good discovery outside of San Angelo, Texas. Had 12 or 13 wells I drilled off that within my first few years of business. 1984 is when I started business. Then by 86 and 87, all of my activities shifted to the West Coast in California. I became a significant oil and gas producer in California. I had 2 offices, one outside of Sacramento, one in Bakersfield. Saddam Hussein and the Gulf War were a 1990 phenomenon. And I just bought a bunch of new production from major oil companies. I bought old oil and gas assets from nearly all the major companies like Texaco, Exxon, Mobil, Phillips, Chevron, and at the time of that Gulf War, my production had just come up multiple fold. Then with the tripling of the oil price during that time, I was making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But decided to make an exit from California because of all the environmental stuff. They were just taxing me to death and fining me to death at every chance. I took the opportunity to take a fistful of dollars and go back to Oklahoma, where home was.
Yeah.
And found an opportunity of buying cheap agricultural land. And I ended up buying 120,000 acres in about a 3-year period, and built a very large ranching and timber operation. Eventually built a sawmill, worst financial mistake I ever made. I put $45 million in it and lost 25.
Oh, wow.
Only bankruptcy I'd ever had. Not a good investment.
No.
Started up right into the Obama recession in 2007, 2008, that period.
Yeah.
Nobody was making money in the wood industry. But I got into several tech investments. I had a great friend, and his forte was clean room technology for producing chip manufacturing.
Yeah.
I talked him into starting his own business. I was his venture capital. I was his venture capitalist. He came out of the big company he was with 3 employees, and we started. And this is one of those God stories that needs to be in a book. Eventually it will be. But that company he worked for had all of Motorola's business. At that time, Motorola was the big dog in cell phones and this kind of thing back around 1990 and right after. And they could not live without my buddy Mike, who was putting and a couple of engineers that he took with him. They were the core of Motorola's design work. Motorola walked out the door with them. We had Motorola's business.
Yeah.
I mean, it just you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. So they're giving me a cue here. Our time is coming close. So
Okay,
now,
good.
tie the two together, what you're doing in China and this new rescue operation that you have, and how you're using your business acumen and wealth to bring this about.
Well, from the beginning, even when my wife and I were in college, I was married, we went through together, and we made a pact when we started school that we don't care whether we make money or it's a gift or a grant or parents give us money. We were going to give some of that back to the Lord. We weren't just going to consume it. We were going to always remember that we were here under the Lord's guidance and care. And we practiced that even when we couldn't afford it at all. And I think that foundation of being willing to give when it was hard to give became something. It's like Jacob's stone set up in the wilderness that he poured the oil on. It became a place that the Lord could bless. And I just went into business, particularly after my petroleum engineering degree. I went into business consecrating it all to the Lord.
Yeah.
And telling him, Lord, this is not for me. This is for your eternal purpose. I'm here for you. I'm just a beggar out of a dung heap. And I began giving everything I could away, supporting the local church where I was, supporting some missionary trips, some serving ones, and different things. And it just grew and grew and grew. And eventually I was supporting over 200 full-time Christian workers, along with other things.
Yeah.
I helped support the first American Christians to go into Russia when the Iron Curtain fell. We went into Russia with a group of 35 who spoke no Russian. And then we had to get into Russia. We didn't have the materials to translate, so we translated 120 different ministry materials. And the Bible, they didn't even have a decent Bible to read. We translated what is now known as the Russian Bible. It took us 5 years and $5 million.
Yeah.
And those kind of things
Yeah.
that you can't even explain the blessing
Right.
that comes along with those kind of opportunities. Well, because of, I don't know what to call it, just the habit of giving,
Right.
and being involved with those who do such things. I also got a real interest in oppression and persecution of the faith community.
Right.
And I have pretty deep roots that go into China with the believing community there. And I'm here because I see a way to make a difference.
Yeah.
Through my political connections, financial things. I see it a way to make a difference to these believers. That's why I'm here at IRF.
That's awesome. Well, I want to, thank you for sitting down and sharing your story, a little bit of your story. How could you, in closing, encourage Christian CEOs with all that you've seen, experienced, and been allowed to do by the Lord's grace?
Well, that word is the most important word, grace. I think the first thing you have to do is appreciate your salvation. It is like David prayed, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation. It's his salvation, not just mine. And the more I know him, the deeper my joy becomes. And I realize I would have nothing. I had no hopes and no possibilities and no chance to even really have a normal human life apart from the Lord and my relationship with him. So I've just lived my life like, Lord, I owe it all to you. I don't mind giving it up. I wouldn't have anything anyway. You know, it's just there's a joy in living thankfully.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and depending on Him.
That's both those are really good words right there. So I really appreciate that. And so thank you for taking some time here in your busy schedule to sit down and encourage me, and I know our audience. So thank you for all that you're doing in the name of Jesus Christ.
And you're welcome, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, God bless you.
Thank you for watching. If our ministry mandate of restoring in all nations the preeminence of Jesus Christ in business and our media mission of telling the world what Jesus is doing in business resonates with you, please support this ministry. Your financial support will help us continue to fulfill the Great Commission as missionaries in the nation's public squares of business. God bless you, and thank you for your prayers and support.